Hello, Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and this is the best of the live shows. Welcome to the show, Mr. Virtua MD.
Yeah, it's my first time on the show. I'm happy to finally get to call in.
Yeah, so Graham, tell us who you are.
So before Marky Dragon became what it is today, Marcus owned a website it was just Marky Dragon, and it involved the normal stuff that he does today, the or the code sales and stuff like that. But it also involved forums where people did sales for game accounts, currency, items, etc. And for the longest time, I mean, that went on. When did you start that site? Or start the forums portion of it, rather.
We started the forums portion of it, I think, in 1998.
Okay, because I joined in 2006, I think.
Okay.
And so I had been involved in that since 2006, and then I basically dealt in WoW accounts, WoW Gold, and WoW items, and still to this day actually do. Marcus ended up getting rid of that portion of the site because your idea, right, was to move away from that. You wanted to go back into more of a kind of a legitimate business than the RMT side of it, because RMT side can get a little bit sketchy sometimes. We all know that. And so I've been involved in that for, I don't know, even before that forum, I was doing the stuff on eBay and all that kind of stuff with RMT. So probably since I was 13, and now I'm 20, 21.
And okay, so we go way back because you were one of the were you one of the moderators on the forums as well?
I had applied for moderator a couple times, and I always did I always did a bunch of the scammer assistance, like helping people with scam reports and stuff like that, and trying to figure out how to deal with that. I never ended up having the time to be a moderator and stuff like that, but it was actually funny. I just saw that Alexandra was moderating your chat, and I was like, wow, that isn't a name I had seen in years.
Flashback.
Yeah, really big flashback.
Yeah, Alexandra and I have been working together since 98 or so.
Yeah, I know. I remember that name. She wasn't. I don't think she was too fond of me back in the day because I always asked her for favors and stuff. So. Yeah.
So, did you hear the last caller, the guy from Ireland?
Yes.
What did you think of what he had to say?
See, there's a difference. All right, so he got scammed from, I guess, a mainstream. If that's what we're implying.
I don't know what site it was.
Yeah, if that's what we're implying, he got scammed by a mainstream, I guess, quote unquote, gold seller. And there's very big differences between a mainstream website and private sellers. And I deal more in private sellers. The whole problem with mainstream is it's easy to make a convincing site, first of all, with how easy web design is now. It's easy to make a convincing site to trick people into thinking you're legitimate. The cool thing about private sellers, especially on the forum, I'm not going to name the name because I know we're not going to do that on the show, but on the forums that we deal on, or that I deal on, is all the private sellers, they have reputation built up, and people get reported if they do something fraudulent. So, and I mean, that was the basis that you set up. That was how your forums were set up. There was a reputation section, and people had threads, and they got reputation based on how they...
We pioneered all of that.
Yeah, exactly. Trust to verification.
Yeah.
It's a huge, people don't realize how huge that is. I mean, the amount of information that you guys require with trust to verification is massive, and it prevents people from wanting to take that step towards scamming somebody because that information is published and available on the internet readily. But with that being said, whether or not you can link the fact that he bought gold and then 3 weeks later got hacked is kind of...
I believe it. I believe it.
I mean, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. But the thing is you have to look at a lot of really finite details to kind of see that stuff. I mean, the intricacy of how these hackers work and all that kind of stuff, the social engineering that goes into it, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like if they had put that work towards actually farming gold or something like that, they probably would have made the same profit without hacking somebody's account. But that's another entirely different point. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. But I don't know. I mean, the whole them asking for his phone number, that has happened to me a couple times where I've ordered gold from somewhere, and just because like it was my first time ordering there or something like that, they ask for your phone number so they can verify your name and all that kind of stuff and make sure that it's your PayPal that you're using, it's not somebody using your PayPal, all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure you've done that with your sales as well. I mean, I remember watching one of your videos where you talked about one of the kids was charging on his mom's credit card, and the parents ended up reversing like all of the charges on it for massive amounts of money.
It was $26,000 worth that the kid had purchased, and they tried to do a chargeback on all of it, and they were only able to get $13,000.
Yeah, I mean it's that kind of stuff, and like there's a reason that these companies call. They're not just doing it just to be annoying, to get more information. I mean, obviously, there are those companies that are, by all means, I'm going to go ahead and say this as a forewarning. If a company asks for your ID, just drop it right there. Secret question answer, password, any of that kind of stuff. Just drop it right there. There's no reason to risk it. You can find, if you do the research, you can find people that are legitimate, that are willing to sell the gold, and don't need that information. Not promoting it at all, because that's not what the show is for, but I'm saying, for your safety, don't do that. But,
right. I think that most players aren't I would say probably the majority of the buyers are not as sophisticated as you or I, and to know how to protect themselves.
Yeah, I see. That's what I've always wanted to do is make something that the general public can read up on before they purchase gold or something like that, or purchase a service, whatever that is, on how to protect themselves. But the thing is it's such a, what would it be? It would be such a frowned upon. I mean, obviously buying like RMT industry in general is frowned upon. So trying to find a venue to present that information is reasonably tough. That will be widespread enough where the people that will need to see it will see it. So, I mean, I've always wanted to do something like that because, I mean, I've been on the cutting edge of it since, like I said, 05, 06, and have had a great reputation the entire time. And there is honestly more money to be made being legitimate than there is not being legitimate.
Oh, absolutely.
In my knowledge.
Over the long term. It's when you're looking for the
definitely.
Short term, if you're stealing, you make more money, but
yeah, obviously. But the thing is after a long period of time, people know who you are. You get IP logged on all the sites, so you just immediately get banned on that account. You might use a VPN, but most of the sites now have ways to detect VPNs. So I've found it a lot more worthwhile to be 100% legitimate, and a lot also because I build up a client base. I mean, I've got a massive client base that know that they can come to me if they need help and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just the whole key of this conversation is do your research, find the right people. If they're asking too much information, drop it. Just don't worry about it.
So let me ask you a few questions here.
Yeah.
What game or games do you primarily deal with?
World of Warcraft right now. I was doing a little bit with Diablo, but Diablo's kind of toned down because there wasn't really much sustainable content there. With the Paragon levels, I think some of it's coming back, and then whether they implement PvP, we'll see what happens with that. But for right now, it's World of Warcraft.
And would you call yourself a professional in this area, this RMT area?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I've been doing it for long enough where, I mean, this has been my full-time job since I was about 14. And I started that early, 13, 14, right around there.
Really?
So, yeah, I'd call myself a professional.
So you make a living doing this?
Yes, I do. Yep.
And is it a good living?
Yeah, I mean, for
your walls are well painted.
Yeah, exactly. For a kid putting himself through college, I make a good living, so I do reasonably well. I mean, it's definitely, the thing is the learning curve once you get past the learning curve, it's pretty much, well, it's reasonably smooth sailing. If you can understand how people operate and how the scams work and how PayPal works and all that kind of stuff, you can do reasonably well. But the problem is just not getting overzealous, covering your bases, and like, I mean, just being patient. That's the I think that's the biggest thing that you can do, is being patient and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Do you ever get scammed?
I haven't honestly been scammed in about 3.5 years. Believe it or not.
I need to know your method.
I have had a really, really good track record, and if anyone from PayPal is watching this, they hate me. But the reason I haven't is because I've stepped away from PayPal. PayPal is they've implemented a lot of really, really bad things towards the RMT industry and just virtual sales in general that have like been a huge detriment to the business. One of their things is the PayPal holds. They're allowed to put a hold on your money. I think it's for 90 days at any point in time.
It can be anything. One of my accounts had a 6-month hold on it.
Oh God, that's vicious. That's So like the holds, for instance, I think the biggest thing though is that they don't support virtual goods. So if you tell them it's a virtual goods case, they will not offer any support for it.
Right.
On either side. I think normally if a dispute happens, virtual goods wise, it goes back to the buyer, no matter almost on any case. But so I've stepped more into PayPal and not into PayPal, out of PayPal and into Western Union and MoneyGram and bank transfers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I can see that. I know that one of my accounts, they wanted a 6-month hold, and they wanted, I think, 15%.
Gosh.
And I'm like going, this product that we sell here, after you take the 15%, we're upside down.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the gross margin profit on those CD keys isn't that much. If that's what you're talking about.
You have to have volume because you don't make a lot of profit on each one.
It's like my father. He's in restaurant franchising, low-end restaurant franchising, Pizza Huts, IHOPs, and Taco Bells, and the gross profit margin on that is minuscule. So it's like if the government imposed a 15% tax on him of his revenues, he'd be 5% in the hole. That just doesn't make sense. And what they're doing when they put a hold on your PayPal account is they're just wrapping up interest on it. It's just sitting in their accounts, and they're wrapping up interest on it as well.
They used to give you interest. They don't anymore.
They don't anymore, yeah. So.
And, now I can say that I successfully fought that and got it removed.
Okay.
And now that's partly because I've been involved with PayPal since it was X.com.
Yeah.
And so, I've been around the block a few times, and I was able to prove that. I even showed him a couple of chapters in a book I wrote about safe practices for PayPal. I didn't write the book, let me say. I wrote the chapters.
Oh, okay.
And now, have you ever been caught by Blizzard?
That's another one I get a lot. And it depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about botting and gold sales, obviously you're bound to get caught. Account sales, I haven't ever had an account ban. Not one. And I kind of feel like, all right, sorry if anyone in the stream this has happened. I kind of feel like you have to pull off something really, really drastic for them to ban an account for RMT, for selling the account itself. Whether it be you sell the account and then the money gets recalled, and then you recall the account, then the person recalls the account back. In that case, by all means, they might suspend it for RMT because it's pretty obvious if there's a recall fight or something like that. Or they might lock it and you have to submit your ID and stuff like that. But personally, I haven't had an account locked.
Interesting.
And I'm not sure if it's my methods or I just get lucky and I'm on Blizzard's right side or
Are you,
what it is.
So I'm going to assume that you're probably not doing real high volumes.
Not right now, no. More high-end than I'm doing high volumes. But the problem is now stuff's getting really, really hurt. The business is getting hurt because of duping. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Well, it happens in all the games. There's not a single game that I know of that it hasn't happened in.
Not really item duping in WoW right now. It is feats of strength and achievements. Those, because achievements now. Do you play WoW on an occasional basis, or you play much?
No, not since. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know when I have a box up there of the last version I bought, okay. Burning Crusade.
Wow. Okay.
Unopened. Does that tell you anything? I didn't open it.
Is that even? Wait, is that even? That's before achievements, dude.
It's a collector's item.
Achievements. Yeah. You should see the original collector's edition WoWs. They sell for like $1,500 on eBay.
Yeah, unopened though.
Yeah, I had a friend who bought.
I have one up here that's opened.
Oh, okay.
But if somebody wants to give me $1,500, go ahead and speak up now. It's yours.
Yeah. There's one of my friends ended up buying 6 of the original collector's editions of WoW and sat on them till last year. He sold all of them for around $1,500 a piece. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Turned a huge profit.
I used to do that with comic books.
Yeah. I know what you mean. But God, we got off track. Oh, the achievements. Mm-hmm. So, WoW is now, or they migrated over to Battle.net, right?
Yes.
The Battle.net account, rather.
Mm-hmm.
So achievements, everything you did in game now has a correlating achievement. So you can brag about it or whatever it is. And each achievement has a chance to give you, or like has something that it gives you sometimes, like a mount or a title or something like that. And those achievements are no longer character-based. So they used to be character-based. Whatever character you got that achievement on, it would be on that character.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're Battle.net-based. So they're across the entire Battle.net, all of your accounts, all of your characters on that WoW account. So because of that, people have manipulated the system and found a way to duplicate basically that exact Battle.net and make a new one with the same achievements. So, for instance, if you have an original Scarab Lord, I mean, you know the distinction of that title probably. I mean, Scarab Lord is one of the rarest titles in the game. You can duplicate that Scarab Lord, basically. It won't have the characters on the new account, but it'll have the achievement and the mount and all that kind of stuff. So that's been really hurting the business because random, really rare accounts are just popping up all over the place.
Yeah. So, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's been providing some real issues because you can't tell what's duped, you can't tell what isn't duped, and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so if now the markets that you deal in are considered not legitimate,
mm-hmm.
and if you were, what is your hopes for this kind of market in the future?
Do
you want it to go legit?
See, I'd like it to, because I feel like the people that have built themselves a legitimate client base and a great reputation within the community have something to offer. And like Diablo, for instance, is very legitimized in the RMT. Actually, sorry,
mm-hmm.
Gold isn't. But items, for the most part, are with the real money auction house. Gold is still problematic because the gold sellers still undercut the real money auction house gold price. But I'd like for stuff to migrate more towards Diablo 3, and I think Dark Age was one of the other games that tried to adapt it, that they actually support trades and sales of account.
Mm-hmm. But would you say that that their support of it in Diablo 3 was the death of the game?
See, that's another. It's a great question because a lot of people would say that, but I feel like there's a different way they need to go about it. I don't think that they should make it so that items that have a very high influence in the game in terms of weapons, armor, all that kind of stuff, whatever, like equipable items and gold and stuff like that, is able to be sold. But League of Legends, for instance, does it the right way. That's the way I'd like to see stuff go, is the vanity items, the things the things that like you wouldn't normally, like I said, wouldn't normally affect the game. So vanity items that players just get to look cool. Like for instance, Scarab Lord. Scarab Lord doesn't affect the game at all, and it's one of the most sought after items in World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? Like it is literally the most sought after mount in the game and the rarest mount in the game. So stuff like that. That's the way I'd like to see it go, rather than the way that Diablo took it.
So
even Han did the same thing. I mean, it's the skins and all that kind of stuff, and
yeah. Well, I think that Diablo 3 gave it a good shot. I think that it didn't quite work out as many of us had anticipated. A few people made a lot of money real quick, and then it all petered out.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty dead.
And you know, I do know that there are some other games on the horizon that are about to broach this. And so, you know, would you say that if there was a legitimate marketplace for a game, would there be a place for someone like you to do what you do?
I guess not necessarily in the same facet that I'm doing now in terms of selling accounts and stuff like that, since it would get legitimized, because I just have to undercut them, and that we all know that if you get into a price war, it's not ideal for either party. So more like, I guess I'd step more into the fraud department. Not me stepping into fraud, like doing fraud, but the fraud protection department. That's a better way to put it. Helping those companies step up their game in their fraud detection process and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I could even do something like, customer service supervision or any of that kind of stuff, because I've dealt with people for the longest time. I mean, my business is retail. It's just dealing with people, dealing with people's problems, all that kind of stuff. So that's something I'd probably step into if it got legitimized.
What? So you said you're going to college right now?
Yeah.
What's your major?
Double major in finance and econ.
Oh, I couldn't have guessed it.
Yeah, right.
The only other thought would have been like, you know, business, something with business. I think, I think that that is very fitting.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
very
what
fitting.
Everyone says. They're like, oh, that sounds about right.
Oh shit, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay.
Hold on. You're now in the Tampa area, and we haven't met up yet. What is this?
That is true. That is true. I'm in New Tampa.
How was the meetup that you guys had?
One person showed up.
What happened? What happened? Did you guys just have a beer then?
Yeah, several. There was a whole bunch of people who said they were coming, but then they just didn't show up for whatever reason. And that's fine though. That's fine though.
Hey, I mean, you meet people from the community. That's the coolest part about it. Like, I don't know. Like I go to BlizzCon every year. And every year, I mean, I go to BlizzCon and all the MLGs every year. So every year I meet new people from the community that I just knew from behind a keyboard. And it's fantastic for me. I mean, it's cool meeting the people that you think you would be friends over the internet, and you wind up being really good friends when you meet in person. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, I went to the first BlizzCon or the second BlizzCon. I don't remember. All I remember is I got very, very drunk.
A lot of that. Yeah.
Well, everybody kept bringing me drinks when people found out who I was, and then I kid you not, I had 8 Long Island iced teas lined up on my table there for me, and I was like, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, gonna get plastered before night end.
Yeah. We will have to get together sometime.
Definitely.
For sure. And so, Graham, thank you for the call. It's been very interesting. Anytime you want to call in and you got something to say about the RMT industry, you know.
Well, hold on, I'm not one-dimensional. That's not all I do.
Okay. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, you know what? I had a question. I had a question prepared, and I don't know. I don't know how much.
I steamrolled you with our past.
I don't mind at all. I always love talking about my past. But my question was, first of all, how much do you keep up with esports, if at all?
Esports?
Yeah.
Hardly any.
Okay. Well, this is. I mean, you're on you're working with game companies right now, so you might still be able to answer the question. In terms of esports, how do you see game companies themselves, if they are a competitive game or trying to push into that market? How do you see them interacting with the competitive scene themselves? Like, for instance, Blizzard and World of Warcraft World of Warcraft and StarCraft, both Blizzard games, have always seen times where the players complain about the balance or complain about something within the game and feel like their responses aren't being taken seriously. I mean, even in the casual scene, there's a bunch of that. So are there any games that you see that do that very well and or have plans to do that very well in the future? You know what I mean?
I'm not really sure. I mean, the whole esports scene, I haven't gotten into it a whole bunch, and part of that is because even though I play a lot of games, I don't consider myself to be a great gamer.
I gotcha.
I'm a much better businessman than I am a gamer.
Yeah.
As long as I'm winning at business, I'm happy.
That's like me too. Like I play World of Warcraft and I play it on a reasonably competitive basis, but I don't play near the top level that I could if I weren't doing my business side of it. So I understand that at all. Completely.
So you want to know? Ask me your question again here.
So, are there any companies and/or games that do a great job responding to customer feedback about the game itself, balance within the game, or any of that kind of stuff? Are there any companies that you see that do a very good job of that?
Well, I have some experience with World of Tanks, and it is very competitive, the clans against clans. In fact, they do... Actually, I didn't even think about that. They really have an entire esports section, and they fly the teams into Russia to compete and everything.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah, I understand that. It's just the feedback department. Like, if there's something broken with the game, do they take that? And I
don't think that has anything to do with esports. I think that's just in general that most games don't do that well.
Okay, so then is that like, what can we do to fix that, and how should we approach that in the future? Because as games become more competitive, like the younger generation, my generation, is very competitive with gaming. I mean, there's a reason things like MLG and DreamHack are so successful. How do we approach that in the future?
Well, let me tell you just a little story real quick.
Right.
And it's about, Alexander will remember this, it's about my time in Ultima Online when I got all of us banned. And so we felt that Origin and EA were not listening to us, and that there was all these bugs that were very, very harmful to the game, and that they just weren't fixing them, and including one was a dupe. And so, hey, Alex is laughing.
Yeah, I just saw that.
And so I decided that I was going to do... Dr. Twister had kind of gone away from the scene. He was like the original hack site out of all the hack sites. He was like the very first.
He was like the own core, the original own core.
Right. And he was the originator of that. He was the grandfather of hack sites. And if you're listening, Dr. Twister, props to you. So his site had kind of gone by the wayside and everything, and I decided to create this site called UO Hospital. And it was to cure your exploit ills. And so what we did primarily was to post items that were how to protect yourself against certain exploits. So in combat or whatever, different things you could do to make sure that this exploit didn't happen to you. Or like, your L-shaped house, you had to put a rock on the stairwell or something like that to keep a ship from pulling up and dropping their plank into the house and just walking right in and stuff. And And so then they had this really serious dupe, and they just weren't listening to us. And this dupe was just really wrecking the markets and everything.
Yep.
And so I got tired of it, and I posted how to do the dupe. And I knew that I would get their attention. The problem was it was like a bad child, and I got negative attention.
I was about to say, that's kind of like the taking the cookie from the cookie jar.
Yeah.
You don't shit where you eat. That's kind of the moral of the story. That's pretty funny.
So what happened next was all of us who were posting on the forums there and moderating and everything, we all got banned.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, but we did catch their attention. It just was not in the right way. I will say that a year later, the marketing department knew all of this greatness of Marquee Dragon, and they invited me to be a guest speaker at the UO Fair, but I'm like, I don't have an account, and you had to have an account to register, and they needed me to register so they could pay for my trip there.
Yeah.
And so they sent me a copy of the game for free overnight.
There you go.
FedEx.
There you go.
And I was back in the game.
Finally, after how many years? Or after?
I was banned for, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. Yeah.
That's a trip.
Yeah. So anyway, the problem is that none of the game companies listen well, and so you end up needing a conduit. You end up needing someone who has the game company's ear, who they listen to them, and that person kind of has to vet the issue beforehand and prove its legitimacy before bringing it to the game company for them to actually do something about it. Here's the kicker, though, is that they will only take action in most cases if it affects dollars.
There you go. Yeah, that's StarCraft does a very, very good job with their esports management group. They've got a leader that does some of the esports tournaments. I forget what his name is. But yeah, he does a lot of the StarCraft esports management stuff, and it seems like with StarCraft they've got it right. But for instance, with League of Legends is actually another one that I see a lot of that with. Riot, I think Riot is one of the most notable game developers out there right now with the way that they handle their community. But for instance, World of Warcraft, most of the MMOs have always been plagued by balance issues. So that was just something I was curious about, and how much involvement you've gotten into with game design studios.
Well, I can say that I have been asked by at least one game studio to be that conduit.
Okay, I gotcha. So to be the guy that communicates that.
Right. And this is turning out to be more of a cooperation between companies to actually have a legitimate part in the management of the game. Mm-hmm. But that's not been put into practice. I have the ear of, like, I used to have the ear really good of, like, Victor Kisley at World of Tanks, the CEO, and I would tell him things, and things would get changed.
Nice.
And there are other game developers that I talk to, and I say, hey, this, at least from a player's perspective, is a real big problem. Will you keep that in mind with the stuff that you're doing?
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, some game developers say, I watched all of your videos on a particular subject, and we decided we were going to fix that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But
see, I'd love to be that conduit as well, just because. All right, I'll have to talk to you about this on the down low a little bit later, but I've got some. I'm trying to slowly step out of RMT. I kind of want to get into the more legitimate side of it, just as you did. But I'm gonna start doing some tournament hosting in the near future, esports tournament hosting. And one of the things I want to my favorite thing, even about the business that I run right now, the RMT, is meeting people. Mm-hmm. It's all the people that I deal with. So I think being that conduit honestly, that would be probably one of my ideal jobs, because you get to interact with the community and at the same time fix the problems that are plaguing the community and make the game more enjoyable for everyone. I mean, can't complain about that job. Mm-hmm. You really can't. So I don't know.
I don't know of a single position in any company that's like that. Although I have seen a couple of titles at a few video game companies of like director of wellness and stuff like that.
His name. I'm looking for his name. Rob Simpson. That's who he is. He's the Blizzard's esport manager.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ended up actually leaving Blizzard, but for the longest time he was the Blizzard esports manager, and he did a great job. So I don't know. But that is one of the jobs in the near future that I want to pursue at some point with a game design company.
Okay, well, I think I need to make some room for some other callers.
Sorry, I'm sorry I took up so much of your time.
That's okay. I love talking to you. Thank you for calling in. And next time, I encourage you to call in again. We'll just stick it to one subject the next time.
All right. That's good.
So, okay, Graham, take care.
Right. Have a good one, guys.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so that's a little bit of a walk down memory lane. I have not talked to him in quite a while, and so yeah, we go way back. We did all kinds of stuff together, and anyway, so it's interesting to see that he is still doing it. I didn't think that it was so much of a viable business these days. Because the market has become so saturated and there's so much fraud, but he seems to have figured it out, so more power to him. Well, now that you've made it this far, can I interest you in another video? You know, in the upper left is a video where I talk about being yourself and why it's so important to stay true to yourself and don't worry so much about what other people are saying. Click on that if you want to go see that, and it has awesome music, and as you can see there, it's got the clouds rolling over. I did this time-lapse thing. Pretty cool. Upper right, are you interested in War Z? Have you wondered whether or not the game is any good? In that video, I give you a review of what I think about War Z, whether or not I think that you should even, play it at all or whatnot. And speaking of playing new games, lower right, Greedmonger. Greedmonger is a Kickstarter campaign. It's a game that is coming out. It looks to be due out in April. And that is an interview with Jason Appleton. If you loved Ultima Online, you may very well like Greedmonger. I know that I have purchased land in it, and I hope you will too. Check it out. That's part of a 3-set of interviews, and you can learn a lot about the game and what's going on, and maybe you can get into it. So, lower left, that is about What the Fast. And, that video is quite old. Look at that, I had hair. Oh, look at that. I have an exit playing in one of the other videos. How about that? The one with me at the hat, that's about What the Fast. And What the Fast is actually a great application if you're having any lag problems. And it's especially great if you're playing from overseas. If the servers that you're playing with are of great distance, then you'll want to check out What the Fast, because it will it doesn't do anything funky that is against the terms of service. What it does is it shapes the route that your internet takes, your connection to the server takes, to make it the most efficient as possible. And people who are at great distances say that they get great results. And so I explain it all there, and so check it out. And What the Fast might be something that would help you out if you have issues with lag. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll let the music play out here just a little bit, and while you enjoy the music, make your selection. Take care, everybody.